Hi everyone, it's Marguerite from Wreaths by Marguerite here on my YouTube channel. This will be the first video that I do in my actual workspace for the YouTube channel. Once again, I want to thank David and Martha Jansen for allowing me to use the Sydney Art Center to film until I got my feet wet enough to feel confident to do this all by myself. This is in my studio here at my home in Sydney, Nebraska, and today we are going to start with the first of a series of a couple, maybe 3 or 4 different styles of bows. I thought this was the appropriate time to do this because it's just before Thanksgiving when I'm recording. You may be watching this later, but it's being recorded before Thanksgiving of 2024, and we all know that it's fun to decorate our packages for the holiday season, and what would be better than kicking up your abilities a notch, right? I am today going to be making bows and in the next few tutorials that are all in the same color schemes because I'm using these bows for my outside decor, but I will do several different styles of bows during these tutorials so you have more than one idea to work with. Today in this tutorial I'm doing what's called a Terri Bow. Terri Bow was designed basically by Terry Marshall from Millendale Designs years ago, and because of the fact that she was the one that was most prevalent using it, it took on the name Terri Bow. It's a bow with anywhere from 3 to 4 ribbons up to 12 ribbons if you want, in different lengths, going smaller and smaller towards the top in an X formation. So on one side of the bow you've got a loop and a tail, and then on the other side of the bow you have a loop and tail that are opposite. So you'd have a loop on top on one side and a tail on top on the other, and then the reverse on the bottom. So it's like a mirror image of sorts. So hopefully that makes sense. So stick around and I'll show you how to make these beautiful bows. I've got one made as a sample so you can see what it's going to look like. This is the Terri Bow, and this is the selection of colors I'm doing in my outside decor. So let's get to it. Okay, so let's go over the supplies. First of all, I am doing 6 different ribbons in this particular style of bow. These are the colors that I'm going with. You could also use solid colors to mix it up a little bit, but I went with 2 2.5-inch wide ribbon styles and 4 1.5-inch ribbon styles. You notice there's 2 that match each other. I made sure that they're not next to each other or every other, because otherwise this would be against this in the actual bow. So this one will be against this one, and then this one will be against this one. So this comes after that. So this and this are up against each other, and then this and this are up against each other. When making this style of wreath, you're going to want to make sure you have a 1/2 inch to 1 inch difference on each loop. I'm going to go with a 1 inch difference on each loop, meaning each ribbon style as well, because I want to make sure that you can see everything behind the front ribbon, you know, exponentially bigger. That really does make a difference. I'm using 6 ribbons, so that is also a factor. I don't ever want my loops to be under 3 inches, so I'm going to start with 4 inches. So these 2 will be 4-inch loops, these 2 will be 5-inch loops, and these 2 will be 6-inch loops. That's a mouthful apparently. Or I could have done 6, 5.5, 5, 4.5, 4, 3.5. Any mixture will work. You just don't want them all the same length because then they hide what's below. I hope that makes sense. So when building this wreath, we start from the bottom ribbon, the one that's going to go on the very bottom of the bow. So here's the sample that I made already. So we're going to go from this one to this one, and this is the order in which we're going to go. Okay, let me set that aside. Tools. You're going to need some scissors, some wire cutters, and I always make sure I have the needle nose because sometimes my hands don't want to work and I can't pull things as tight as I want, and I may need it for the zip tie. You need 1 zip tie or a pipe cleaner to wrap around all of your ribbon when you're done, but Since I'm putting it outside, I want the extra strength to make sure that the bow doesn't fall apart. We are in Nebraska, so there's a ton of wind. And then I'm using 2 pipe cleaners that I'm going to hook together. They also make 20-inch pipe cleaners. One of those would be perfect. The reason I do 2 is you never know what you're going to be putting this bow on. So I want to make sure that my pipe cleaner is long enough to go all the way around whatever the item in it is that the bow is going to go on. But if you don't have the 20-inch pipe cleaners, what you do is you take 2 of these. I'm going to move this ribbon out of the way. I like to get all my mechanics done before that I can, so I can just fly through making my project. So I'm going to prep these now. So I just take 2, and a very short amount of each pipe cleaner I twist around in opposing directions on the pipe cleaners on both sides. And then I try to pull it tight to make sure it's nice and secure. And I'm going to set this aside with the zip tie for now, because now we're going to get started on making the bow. So let me lay all this stuff out. And I try to clean as I go so that I don't have a big mess in the end. There's a couple of things to start off with that I've learned that helps me when I'm making bows. You can either put your ribbon on the spool with the spool coming out to the right towards you, or you can put it on the spool coming out on the left going away from you. That's important because I work on the bow loop on this side first, and then I work on the next ribbon. I do the loop side on this side. You'll see what I'm doing as I'm going. I'll point it out along the way. But with the first loop, I am going to make 6-inch loops, like I said. So 6, 6, 5, and 4, okay? 6-inch loop, I usually go with a 1-inch longer tail. You can go longer and then cut off if you find that it's too much. But after having plenty of practice, I know that's what I want to do. You want it to peek out just a little bit from behind the loop once the wreath is, not wreath, the bow is done. See how you can see it back there? This one could even be cut a little bit more shorter because it's pretty long. Okay, so I'm going with a 7-inch tail because I'm doing 6-inch loops. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this forward a little bit so you can see a little bit more what I'm doing. I'm going to put it there. 7 inches is right here. I'm going to gather it up like I just did in my thumb and forefinger, and then I'm going to twist it. Just a little advice, unroll your roll of ribbon a little bit so you're not struggling with it so much. I'm going to bring it back down here, and I'm going to put it so that the twist is in the center of the bow board. And yes, I forgot to talk about the bow board. This is the Easy Bow Designer Pro. There's also a basic version, and I'll use that in some of my other tutorials so you can see the difference. This is just the longer board. The traditional board only goes to 8 inches on each side. This goes to 10 on one side, and what is this? 16 on the other. It helps when you're doing bigger bows as well. We put our ribbon right here between these 2 larger posts. This one's for bow making. We will not be using that today. So anyway, back to the bow. So that's still a little off the 7-inch. So I got that in there. I gathered it and twisted it. So now you have the finished side of this ribbon facing upwards, up towards the ceiling. Pardon. So that on this side, you have the unfinished side facing down to the table. And you want that on this side because this is going to be the loop. Okay, so it's a 6-inch loop we're going for. In the larger loops, I'm able to fit my whole hand in here to hold it in place because I don't want it to push it down onto the bow maker because that'll cause a crease in the loop, and we don't want that. And you can get them out pretty easily, but the less you have to manipulate, the better. So now I have turned it, and I'm making the first loop with my hand in there, or just a finger would work as well. And I'm going to press that ribbon down so that it gathers into the posts. And then on this other side of the post from the loop, so on the tail side, I'm going to twist my ribbon in place. And now we have the ribbon upside down again because we're going to make the second loop. So I'm going to go over here again. I'm just going to use a finger this time. To the 6-inch mark. Put that in there. This time we're just going to press it down till it gathers, but we're not going to twist the ribbon because this is the last loop. Whenever it's the last loop, you don't twist the ribbon anymore. So now I'm going to fight the ribbon first. Just kidding. Sort of. And I'm going to go over to the 7-inch mark and cut it at 7 inches because remember I have 6-inch loops, so I've decided I want 7-inch tails. Okay? Alright. Alright, so you see I have one tail here and the other one is neat. The other piece on this side is a loop, so I'm going to bring the loop down here with the tail up there. So now on this side we're doing opposing. So tail down, loop up. Okay? So there's that X pattern we're looking at. So the loops go this way, the tails go this way. Okay? So we're done with that ribbon. It's time to pick the next one. Now, so remember I said on the first ribbon, give me that pin out. I had it on the spool so that the ribbon came out on the right side. Well, now that we're going to do the next ribbon, I'm going to turn it so the ribbon comes off the spool on the left side and away from me because I'm going to work on this side first. On this ribbon here, I worked on this side first. I started with the tail on this side. So on this side, I'm going to start with the tail on that side. And I'm going to bring it up and around. And again, this is still going to be 6 inches, so we use the measurement on our board to find our 7 inches. I'm going to twist it after I've gathered it and put it in there. So this time, you can position all your ribbon where it's supposed to go as you go. It helps at the end. Less manipulating the ribbon, less handling is always a good thing. So I just put that one up. So that means that I'm going to put a loop on this side. So I'm going to mark it at 6 with my finger, put it into the posts on the bow maker, scrunch it down. I'm going to scrunch it down on one side, and on the other side I'm going to twist it so that the finished side is down. I didn't explain that on this one, but I'll do it over and over throughout so you won't be able to forget. So I finished that loop. I have the start of the loop on the other side in place with the finished side down. I'm going to take and make that last part of the loop, put it into the bow maker, mark it at 6 inches with my finger, and since it's the second and last loop, I'm just going to squish it in there. And I'm going to measure out to 7 inches because remember again, 1 inch past the loop. And then I'm going to move this one out of the way. Ah! It's not such a mess to clean up in the end if you clean as you go. Now I won't lie, when it gets really close to the big show events, things are flying. I don't care. I come back and clean it afterwards. So the tail is there. There's a loop. There's another loop, and then there's a tail. So then on this side, the tail is going to go down. You got the loop from the first ribbon, and now you have the new loop. I'm going to press out these little bubbles at the base. They are caused from the ruffling. That's when it's important to ruffle it really well. So now you see we've got a pattern going here, right? You got tail, loop, loop, tail, tail, loop, loop, tail, okay? So the next one, we're going from 6-inch loops to 5-inch loops, okay? We're going back to putting the roll on the blow maker with the ribbon coming from the outside of the roll towards me. And now that this is a 5-inch bow, we are going to measure out at 6 inches for our tail. Keeping in mind, ruffling this, keeping in mind that we want that 1 inch longer than the loops, okay? So I gathered it, and I'm going to twist it, and I'm going to put it into the bow maker. And it's going to go to the same place that the first ribbon went. So it's every other will lay on top of each other. So now I've got my loop side, finished side down, and I'm going to make it a 5-inch loop. Roll that out a little bit more so it's not so hard to work with. So I'm going to bring that up and put it in there. And there's 5 inches, so I'm going to take my finger and hold it there. And I'm going to gather it down, squish it down, whatever verbiage you want to use. And then on the side, the other side of the post, this side of the post, I'm going to twist the ribbon. So this should go here. Okay, because that tail is up, the loop is down. Then over here we have that the finished side down. I'm going to bring that up after I give myself some slack. Put that finger in there where it's supposed to go at 5 inches. And then remembering that this is the last loop of this ribbon style, I'm just going to scrunch that ribbon down in there and put the loop down because the tail's up on that side, and put this back up here. Put the tail down so it's opposite from one side to the other. Since the tail is up on this side, the tail is down on this side. Since the loop is down on this side, the loop is up on that side. And then we'll measure out to 6 inches because these are 5-inch loops, and we are finished with that ribbon. Okay. Lots of glitter this time of year, and everybody can tell because my dog has it on her nose also. She's festive too. Alright, let me just play with that a little bit. I always hold it on each side of the post when I'm playing with it on the bow maker so it doesn't go flying off. Or most of the time. I should never use the word always, it's so precise. Alright, so this is the next ribbon. Again, we're sticking with the 5-inch loops. So we're going to go this way now because it's going to go on the opposite side. So we're going to start over here. I'm going to bring me some slack there. Alright. And this time, it's also still going to be a 6-inch tail. Alright. You can do it on the table before you start it and twist it before you put it in. Or you can just put it in and twist it as you go. Alright, so now, since the loop was up on the previous ribbon, it's going to be the tail up. Okay, so now we have the finished side on this side of the post facing down. And this time, I'm not going to use the bow maker markings to figure out where 5 inches is. I know that the ribbon that I used before this one is 5 inches, so I'm going to use it as my guide. I'm going to put my ribbon into the bow posts. I'm going to line it up, and then I'm going to squish it down, and then I'm going to twist it on the opposing side of the post. Okay? So, this goes up. Now we're going to go down because this is a tail. And again, I'm going to use that ribbon that I used just before this to measure out my loop. This is the last loop, and it goes down for this ribbon because it's opposite the other side, and we didn't twist. Did you see I did not twist the ribbon after I put it into the bow maker? So 6 inches is over here. And we are done with that ribbon. This is coming off of the roll. Calm down, ribbon. Calm down. I'm not going to lie. It took me a week to recover just the Christmas ribbon cabinet after the shows this year. But it's so important to try to keep it in control. It just depends on how busy you are otherwise. Okay, so there we go. So this goes down here because the loop is up. Alright, you can fluff the loops as you go if you want. I do a little bit, but most of the fluffing really comes at the end. So the next ribbon that we are using is this one. So this is the first, second, we have 4. So now this is going to go down to a 4-inch loop. These last two are 4-inch loops, okay? So again, we go back to putting it on there so that it rolls out and away, because we're going to just do this side first, okay? So 4 inches means there's a 5-inch tail, which I'm using here. It's harder to see on your bow maker. If you have a cutting mat like I do, you can always use that to figure out what you want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's going to be here. I'm going to gather that up and twist it, and then I'm going to put it in the bow maker. Now, last ribbon, the first piece on this side is a loop, so now it's going to go back to a tail. And then we got it turned so the finished side is facing the table. So I'm going to bring up a piece of the ribbon, and I'm going to measure it out to 4 inches and use a finger to hold it in place, and then squish it into the post and then twist it on this side of the post, okay? Now we're going to put that loop up because the prior ribbon had the tail up. It's just a repeat pattern every other ribbon. So now I am going to first of all see that the finished side's down. I'm going to bring the ribbon up and into the bow maker, into the posts, and I'm going to measure out to 4 inches and use my finger to hold it in place. Pull it fairly taut in the posts, and then remember, this time we're just scrunching it down in the posts, no twisting, because that was the last loop. So you got a loop up there, a tail up there, and a loop down here. It's a little bit big on the left. Let me fix that. This is the time to do that if you can. So now I cut this tail at 5 inches. All right. Okay, there's that one. And we're down to the final ribbon of this bow, which is the sheer with the glitter polka dots. That'd be a great one for the top. You can still see everything else underneath. So now we're going to turn it so that it comes out to the left and towards me for the final piece. So again, we're going to use the table to measure out 5 inches for our tail. Gather that up. I'm going to do that on the table, twist it so that the right side is up on the tail side. No, pay attention, Marguerite. If you didn't catch it, if you did, good job. So it's this way, 5-inch tail, scrunch that up, twist it, and now we're going to put it into the posts with the tail up because the last ribbon was loop up. Then we're going to do finish side down on this side. Now we're going to make a 4-inch loop, which is the same size as this stripe. So I'm just going to use this ribbon to measure it out for me. Put it into the, get out of the way. Put it into the bow maker in between the 2 pegs. Squish it down. That's going to go up there. And then we're going to twist it on the other side, right at the base of the post. So you have the finished side down over here now. And we're going to do a 4-inch loop on this side. All right, there's 4 inches. It's the same as this one here. Let me show you. It's the same size as this one, so I'm just going to use that loop rather than using the board, because once you get a ton of ribbon into the bow maker, it's a little harder to see the numbers, but you know, it is what it is. You just adapt and overcome, right? So I've got the last loop. I'm scrunching it down in the center, and since it's the last loop, I don't have to twist it, and I'm going to come out to 5 inches and cut my tail. All right, that was the last ribbon we are going to use in this bow. You can do them with one center loop. I will show you how to do a center loop in one of the other tutorials, so keep an eye out for that. Keeping it basic for this one. This is one of my favorite and most popular styles of ribbon bows, the Terri Bow. So now I'm going to place those in place how I want them. This is a little longer somehow. Not a big deal. I can fix that. So again, it's loop, loop, tail, tail, loop, loop with the tails on the outside. Okay, so now it's time to put it all together. I'm going to turn it sideways a little bit. I'm going to take my zip tie with the lock facing down to the table, and I'm going to slip it in under one side of the bow, making sure I got it all the way under all of the ribbons, so I get it all in there. I do it at this point so I don't pull the ribbon off of the bow maker and pieces go flying. This saves you the heartache of having to put it back together, okay? And since I have sore hands today, I've been decorating my own home. I'm going to use the needle nose to help tighten it up. We are not going to tighten it all the way up. We're just basically holding it in its place in the pile so that we can lift it off of the bow maker. So I'm taking my hand up underneath, and my other hand I put up here so that if it suddenly jerks off of out of the posts, it doesn't go flying everywhere. All right, so I'm going to take that off, move my bow maker over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press it down a little bit with my fingers on each side to bring the lock to the back. Then I'm going to lift it up. And I hold it with my index finger and my middle finger because my thumbs are short. It's just too hard for me to try to hold it without making a mess of it. So now you see I've taken that. I'm going to turn it over. I'm not going to press it on the table. And I'm going to have that lock there, right? So this is when you take that pipe cleaner and you're going to slip it in behind. This is where a third hand is handy, but not necessary. I'm going to put that in there, not squishing it on the table, just holding it in place with my fingers on each side of the pipe cleaner, and then I'm going to center the pipe cleaner, since it's two, where the knot is in the pipe cleaner. If not, you just find your center in your pipe cleaner and you're done. And I'm going to tighten it up even more. Okay. So now for this one, I flipped it back over. We're going to do it in our hand. We're going to fluff everything out and place everything out. And then once we get it all in place and fluffed, then we go back and tighten up the zip tie. So I hold the zip tie and the pipe cleaners on my hand tightly against my hand like that. And then I'm going to place all the pieces where they should be. So these two belong here. And don't grab your ribbon from the very tip of the tails because it will fray. Not as easily as mesh, but it can fray. I'm going in there at the base and doing my best to get all the little bubbles out that occur from gathering it. And then I'm going to put my loops in place. And then I'm going to go over here and get these two tails in place. And if you notice, the polka dots on this side, the stripes on this side. So the stripes on this side and the polka dots on this side. Hopefully that makes sense. So now I'm going to go back. I always start from the back. I find that it works better. If you want to work from the top down, that's entirely up to you. But that's just me. As I'm putting everything in place, I take my fingers over the tails and, you know, fluff them out a little bit. Give them a little curl. So that means this one goes on this side. So there's a little bit of flipping over the ribbon up here. So this is the point in time where I want to get that all manipulated in place. And don't be afraid of your ribbon. Don't pull too hard, but if you need to jerk it around a little bit to get it in place, you can do that. So that's there. This one goes over here. Now, I don't know if you can see in here, see how the ribbon's a little flipped over? So I'm just going to manipulate that with my fingers down at the base to make sure it's completely turned out. And then go back to put it in place. Alright, so we have polka dot, stripe, polka dot, stripe, polka dot, stripe, polka dot, stripe. Okay, so now I'm going to do the next two, which were, it's kind of like argyle. Crisscross glitter on the red. So this one, and then the polka dot, the glittery dots is the next one. So I'm going to move this up here out of the way a little. So now I'm going to take this tail over here, and that one's over there. It's already in position. Sometimes it goes with the one before it, the ribbon before it. I'm going to put that one there, and then this one's going to come over here. Fix that because it's trying to flip the other way a little bit. Alright, and then we're going to go back and get those loops that match, fluffed and fix the bottom. So I'm going to come over here and get this bow all manipulated in place. And then I use my whole hand if possible, as long as the loop is big enough to spread out my loop. So that was that one. This is this one. That one's ready to go. So that's the first 4. So now the last 2 are the stripe and the sheer polka dot. So let me get these tails in place. So you see, that was a loop, so this is a tail. So it was tail, loop, tail, loop. Tail, loop, tail, loop. I'm all right. Okay. Going to just manipulate that around. Put my hand in the loop and spread it out. Put that one. Is that the right way? So, that one. Yeah. Loop, loop. Yep. Okay. See, even I question myself sometimes. In one of the other bow videos, I will also show you how to put it on what's called a fluff board and fluff box, and that way you have both hands free to adjust the loops and tails into the position, but I'm doing it in my hand for now. So you can see the basic way. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to get, so I got all those tails. This is the last one. And I'm going to get those bow loops all nice and pretty. Alright, so there's what we have so far. I'll fluff it a little more once I get done, because the next step is to go back on the back and completely tighten this zip tie up so we are 100% sure this is where we want everything located. So I use that to tighten it up even more, the needle nose. Then I will go back with the wire cutters and cut it all the way to the base where the lock was. And then I'm going to sit it down on the table. That's also how it would look when it's sitting in the fluff box. Word of warning, do not look up fluff box on Google. You might be really startled by what you see. If you're daring, go for it. So now I'm going to go back, and starting with the back, I'm going to give these a little more finished look on the tails. So you notice I folded the ribbon in half with the finished side on the inside. It can be inside, outside. But what you're wanting to do is make sure the wires are up against themselves. And then you're going to cut from the folded side to the wired side at basically a 45-degree angle. I didn't finish. There we go. And that gives you these really pretty, they're called dovetails. Or V's. Dovetails, ducktails. And you're going to do this with every single ribbon. Cut from the folded side to the wire. That's 2. There's 12 tails. Yeah, 12 tails because I used 6 ribbons. Alright. 4. 5. 6. I missed this one. Okay, those are all done. Now this one is supposed to be over here, right? So the top 2 are, there I go questioning myself again. Completely normal. Bottom line is it looks good at the end. That's what we're going for. Alright, got a few more to go. There's that one. I think that's the last one I'll count when I get done and go around the bow. Okay, put the trash over here. Trash can. Alright, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so I've cut all of the ends off. There's my pipe cleaner. I'm going to go back. I'm going to lift it up and face it towards you guys. And then I'm going to run my fingers over all the tails. Gives it a little curl. Put my hand in all of the loops. Spread them out. I'm going to flip it around to do another section. Trying to keep your face toward you. All right. Now, what's wrong here? Why am I not feeling it? Okay, these are right. You'll learn if you decide to do this a lot. We could spend hours as individuals fluffing a bow. It's my favorite part. Alright, I think that, what's going on? Is it this one that's bugging me? Yeah, these loops. But these are great for packages. Oh, I missed one. These are great for on packages. Like I said, I'm going to put them in garlands outside in front of my house later on when everything is done for my holiday decorating. I will try to remember to shoot some pictures to show you. Okay. That goes there. I'm going to stand up because sometimes that really does help. Okay, I'm going to hold it down. So I've got this one, this one, this one, this one. That goes there. And you notice the loops are, for this one, are both there. These are across from each other. They're all across from each other. See what I'm saying? This one is not. That's what was bothering me. Something wasn't right. So that goes over here. Move that one into position. Okay, that's much better. Let me just get that over there. You know what else? I'm going to cut this down just a little bit more because it's still a little too long for me. Give it a little curl with the fingers. And let's go there. See, I told you I could do this for hours, but I'm going to try not to. Okay, so there is this bow. So now I have a matching set. Get my tools out of the way too, so you can see what I'm doing. That's this one. That. I'm still getting used to the camera, guys. Wrong direction. There we go. And that's my 2 for my 1 garland. Okay, so there we are. We have 2 made so far. One I made off camera of the Terri Bow using 6 inch, 5 inch, and 4 inch loops with matching tails that are 1 inch longer than each loop. Remembering that it's done in the X formation, so you have 1 loop and tail on each side in opposing sides. So a tail up on one side, a tail down on the other side. So then the loop on this side is down and the loop on that side is up. So pretty simple, easy. You can do lots of things with this. Like I said, this is great for a package for the holidays. You could even put some cute little picks in and around, and then take some of the extra ribbon and wrap it around your box. If I have time before the holidays, I will put some together for actual boxes with boxes to show you what it looks like, and maybe throw some pics in there. Time will tell. If I don't get it to it this Christmas season, I'll get to it next Christmas season. There's lots of content to look at. So that is these 2. They are all set. I also wanted to talk about the bow makers a little more. This is the one that I used today. It's the Easy Bow Designer Pro. I talked about how long it is compared to the original. This is the original. This is the one I started out with and that they made first. It's called the Deluxe Easy Bow Maker. This is made by Easy Bows LLC, and they have a website which is easycraft.com, e-zcraft.com, if you want to look at their product. Are interested in getting one. They've also got a travel version, I believe. There's so many bow makers out there, but I find that these two are the most user-friendly. Again, maybe if I have time before the holidays, I will bring out the big bad boy, the Pro Bow the Hand. Might be pretty scary for some people, but it's what I learned how to do a bow on first. It's a great bow maker as well. And there's a couple other that I can't think of off the top of my head. You just have to find the bow maker that works best for you. And I've found that these work the best for what I want to do. Okay? So there you have it. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today while I made some pretty bows for the holidays. If you have any questions, make sure that you ask them in the comments, or you can look at the last screen and it'll have all my different contact information, including here on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, email, Messenger, all of the things, all the ways to get a hold of me. I enjoy doing this for myself and for you. I hope you've learned something. And if you'd go ahead and try any of these things, please feel free to send me pictures. I would love to see pictures, just like I love to see pictures of my creations on people's doors and walls and mantles and all the things. So thank you again for spending some time with me today. I know that your time is valuable, and the fact that you spent some time with me today and carved out some time to spend here, I appreciate that very much. So everybody have a great day, and happy Thanksgiving coming up, and Merry Christmas if I don't see you before, but I hope I do. Don't forget to subscribe. It's free. Enjoy your day. Bye, guys.